Hey guys, Benny Bam coming at you straight. Sorry, this was kind of an unexpected one for me tonight. Um, Obviously, some allegations just came out regarding Shohei Ohtani and his interpreter, mostly the interpreter. So I don't want to make this sound like something that it's not. But ESPN has a report that apparently during the course of an interview, it was discovered that Ippei Mizuhara, who we all know as Angels fans as Shohei's interpreter, who was paid somewhere reportedly in this report between 300,000 and 500,000 per year that he's been with Shohei. I don't know 100% if that was only by the team or partially by Shohei or a combination of the two. Um, was apparently betting on sports with someone who he claims that he did not know was not a legitimate bookmaker. So the way that bookmakers work is they will oftentimes work off of credit as opposed to legitimate betting tends to be you have to put the money up front, whether it's Vegas or other sports books. They're gonna, and obviously as sports has become more and more legal in sports betting, the issue of course being that as a professional baseball player or someone even in the organization, you're not really allowed to bet on the sport. And the claim is in this is that he didn't bet on any baseball or pro baseball or any kind of baseball, that it was soccer, NBA, and other sporting venues. However, you are not allowed to do that in an illegal way with an offshore bookie or someone who's not following the standards of professional sports books, as far as that's regulated. So apparently, Ippei says that he did not know that this was the case. He did not know that this was an illegal sports book, but the guy who he was going through was using Shohei Ohtani's name to impress people, to get clients, and to let them know who he worked with and things of that nature, um, freely. So but his lawyer claims he's never met or talked to Shohei Ohtani at all. But it gets a little bit more intricate than that. So apparently, Ippei, excuse me, had gotten himself into some type of sports credit debt with this person. Of course, the fact that it was credit at all kind of shows you that it's not probably on the up and up. The fact that they would even accept credit from you based on your name or Shohei's name, really. And the report says that he was in debt up to $4 to $4.5 million in credit with this guy, whether that was straight cash or only credit. There's some combination possibly, but he was up to debt up to $4.5 million in some type of straight or combined credit and currency in a way that's not, super legal as far as a legitimate sports book would accept. Um, and apparently, according to this report, Shohei agreed to cover partial amounts of this if he agreed that it would never happen again, because they're also friends outside of him being his interpreter. And for us that have been in, Angels land for however long, you never see the two apart. And I'm sure it's the same case with the Dodgers now, because he hasn't even started playing an official season for the Dodgers yet. He's only had a career so far with the Angels up until spring. So, I mean, outside of Japan, I mean, in the major leagues, in America, in Major League Baseball. So apparently, Shohei agreed, according to the report. I'm not alleging this. This is in the ESPN report by Tina Thompson that says that Shohei agreed to cover some of his debt for him. Now, is that illegal? Is it not illegal? It's definitely, if it's not a legitimate sports book, no part of it would be acceptable by the standards of Major League Baseball. Shohei Ohtani is not allowed to bet on baseball in any way, shape, or form. Ippei, if he was employed by the teams, which he was, no matter how much money he made, if you're an employee of a Major League Baseball team, you cannot bet on baseball at all, right? And the report is that baseball was not involved. However, if it's not a legitimate sports book, you can't bet on any other sport either. And that is make this a pretty big controversy. We all know Shohei just signed something in the range of a $700 million contract where he gets about $1 million in actual salary per year and deferred a lot of it into the future, which, on the surface of that seems like a smart, investment in yourself for the future and all of those things. Well after baseball and all that, we all know that Bobby Bonilla is still getting, July 1st, Bobby Bonilla Day, right? He still gets paid because of the deferments that the Mets made to get out of his contract and take it on they'd rather take a lesser hit on their cap and on their numbers over several years than pay him out in a way that hurts their team more in, the short term with what their availability, financial flexibility would be to sign other players and take care of the organization and all the other things that go along with that. Ippei very much was not allowed to do this if it was not a legitimate sports book. Shohei covering it for his friend. This is just in the report. We haven't heard Shohei comment on this. We haven't heard him say that he did or did not do this. We did not hear that. But his name, Otani without the H, because that's his legal name, is Otani is his legal name, was on transfers made in multiple payments covering some type of debt, according to the report, for Ippei, his interpreter. Now, on top of that, apparently he has now been dismissed as the interpreter, which of course would make sense because the Dodgers would say, hey, you're not allowed to bet on any sport illegally, period, right? You work for a professional baseball team, right? Whether it was the Angels or now the Dodgers, you work in a professional baseball environment. You work for, one of the top, cornerstone teams in baseball with the Dodgers. They were the Brooklyn Dodgers. Now they're the LA Dodgers. They are a cornerstone franchise in Los Angeles. They are a cornerstone franchise in Major League Baseball. And it wouldn't matter if they weren't, if you're even any team in Major League, if you were the Tampa Bay Rays, if you were the Minnesota Twins, if you were, the Pittsburgh Pirates, any team in Major League Baseball, you cannot bet illegally on any sport at any time, period. You definitely can't bet on baseball either. But his claim is that I knew I couldn't bet on baseball, so I didn't. But I thought I was betting on these sports in a legal manner. And it turns out that that is apparently not the case. And it's being investigated right now federally. And Major League Baseball is waiting on those findings. And of course, they have their own people to investigate things like this that have worked in federal regulation and all of that they hire that were parts of that to make sure that they're on the up and up with everything they do, because there's a lot of scrutiny, because there's a lot of money involved in Major League sports. So they have to keep everything on the up and up consistently, and it has to appear that way. There can't be any appearance of impropriety or that games are fixed or anything like that. And we've seen, like Tim Donaghy in the NBA, the referee that was apparently, fixing games. And there's been other instances in college and things like that, boosters, other things that, were, accusations of fixing games. Some of them have been relatively proven in court and those kinds of things. But Major League Baseball, and I can guarantee you, Rob Manfred doesn't want any part of that. He doesn't want any part of those accusations. He doesn't want any part of the view of anything being not on the up and up. So this is interesting because Shohei just signed a contract with the Dodgers. What language is in that contract? What did it say? Where did that money that he transferred come from? He's got a lot of endorsements outside of baseball, and he was obviously a pro player before he even came to the major league. So where did that money come from? What is the tracing that they're going to find? What information did Shohei willingly say, I'm going to cover this for you? Because that's apparently what Ippei said in this article, that Shohei agreed to do that. And now Ippei saying, oh, well, if I had known it was not legal, I would have never bet, and I'll never bet on sports again now, and la, la, la. That ship's kind of sailed if you did do it, especially if you helped Shohei cover it and put him in a position where he's very vulnerable. And if Shohei agreed to it, he put himself in a position where he's very vulnerable to potentially help a friend, is what it sounds like in the article. Just strictly citing the information in that article is all I'm doing. I'm not accusing this. I'm not stating anything that's not in the article. These are all just points that are made in the ESPN article about Ippei and what he's accused of doing. At this point, it's only an accusation, although they found this out during an interview that he did where he was probably, he was very transparent about parts of this. And then that led them to investigate other parts of it and then turn it over. They were going to release the interview. And then this shows you how serious it is the actual company that could have made a lot of profit by releasing the interview said, we're not going to release it because the information contained in here should go to someone in law enforcement. And so we're not going to release it. And that's what happened. And then they turned it over. And now all of this is starting to come out and percolate. And the story will only grow from here because now there's going to be eyes on it and people looking at it. So did Shohei knowingly cover illegal sports debts for Ippei, his interpreter? Did Ippei do all of this knowingly, knowing that it was a legal sportsbook? And is there proof of that somewhere? If there's not proof of that somewhere, did he really just make a mistake? Well, He may have, but it's probably not going to change the consequences of him working in baseball or not. It's probably not going to change the fact that, that relationship got, put on ice by, either the Dodgers or Shohei or both after the fact because of the position that he's put himself and them and Shohei in. And if Shohei agreed to do it willingly, as Ippei claims in the article, in the interview that he did that's cited in the article, that's not good news for either one of them. And that's not good. So we're going to see how it plays out. A lot of interesting things to come with that. That is a big, huge issue. And hopefully it gets sorted out by Major League Baseball. I can tell you that when I was at Angel Stadium last year doing shows and stuff like that, I didn't hear any wind of any kind of betting from anybody on the team or any associate that works with the Angels or anybody. And at that time, both of them were still there. And so I've never heard anything like that as far as the Angels go, as far as sports betting and in the context that this article is saying and all of that kind of stuff, whether it was baseball or not. I had not heard any of that either. And I don't know, I've never talked to anybody who assumed that about Ippei or Shohei or anything, because apparently it was a private matter. But $4.5 million in illegal sports betting through credit, and you didn't know that that was illegal, sounds bad. So hopefully they get it done. It's just accusations. It's just alleged. And this is just an article, but ESPN would not release that article if they did not have corroborating sources for that information. And his own words are cited in the interview that was turned over, that got to the point of being in this article. So we're going to see what happens. Very interesting that this even happened at all, much less whatever led up to it would be very interesting to even know, because how do you not know that? In spring training, every single year, they're going over, you can't bet. You cannot bet. Now, the context is betting on baseball. And technically, if you're employed by the team, you can bet on other sports, depending on the team and the rules and the structure of the league that you're in, and the SOPs and everything that's allowed or not allowed. But this is a big, big deal if it is as reported, because not only will he lose his job, but there could be sanctions for Ohtani. There could be sanctions for, was it the Angels? Was it was this still going on by the time they were with the Dodgers? What even happened? And when did it happen? And how did it happen? And what's going to happen now? So all of these things are still yet to be determined, but it is a big deal that Ippei has been caught up in whatever this is in sports betting that was not apparently on the up and up by the sports bettor who was representing himself and showing off that Shohei was one of his clients, even though, according to them, Shohei had nothing to do with the bets and all of that. He only agreed later to cover, according to the article, he only agreed later to cover some of the debt for his friend if he agreed never to do it again. And if that really happened that way, then Shohei could be very much responsible for his own actions in agreeing to do that. Now, we don't know that yet. Shohei hasn't spoken on it. We don't know, even through an interpreter or whatever. Obviously, he's going to need a new interpreter if everything reported is accurate. And it sounds like that's already taking place, where he's already been dismissed. That's what the article is alluding to, and that the whole point of the article and how it's headlined on ESPN, which you can watch on ESPN.com right now. It's all on there. That's how I found it, right? Because I was not expecting this. I had not heard about this until today. So interesting to see how this is going to play out. Let me know your thoughts and comments below. And if you want any other kind of reaction or information that I can try to get for you guys, but big deal. Former interpreter for Shohei Ohtani, now former, apparently, according to the article, reported on ESPN, did an interview saying that Shohei helped him cover some of the debt of $4.5 million to an illegal bookie that was based on credit that he made, which is illegal. It wasn't baseball, apparently, but apparently NBA and other types of sports were bet on. Soccer specifically was mentioned as well. So we'll see what happens here, but let me know your thoughts and all of that. But obviously, big deal here. Shohei Ohtani's interpreter caught with some illegal sports betting, and Shohei potentially is involved in helping at least cover the bets, although apparently to this point, allegedly, he did not know about the initial betting and the bookie and all of that, but then agreed once he knew to apparently cover some of the debt, according to his interpreter's words in the article based on the interview that he did. So just to be clear about all of that, this is not me saying that. That's not, an accusation or anything like that, but that's what's alleged in the interview that he himself did and said his own words that was then reported to make this article on ESPN. So let me know your thoughts, comments, concerns, guys. Keep it strong.